we are. Part 4, Temple of Zucca, Pneuma of Charlie Kirk, Miasma, Warfare, and the Sovereignty of Breath. Written and read by me, Abe Zucca. You can check out my art at zuccagallery.com. You can come into my art gallery in downtown Phoenix at 1301 Grand. You can Google the name Abe Zucca and check out my social media. Let's begin the Pneuma of Charlie Kirk, the breath, body, and the politics of air is what we're going to begin with. The breath, body, and the politics of air. More wholesome to sleep with the mouth shut. Whatever happens to the nose affects what happens to the lungs. It's one united airway. The breath inhaled through the mouth is called Ni-Chi, adverse breath. Axioms of atmospheric sovereignty, the state, the body, and the breath subject. The first political frontier is respiration, for the body that breathes through constraint becomes the earliest province of the state. In the airway, the first corridor in which power circulates, the sovereign's true jurisdiction, is measured not by consensus or map, but by the ratio of constricted throats to liberated lungs. The first political frontier is respiration, for the body that breathes through constraint becomes the earliest province of the state. In the airway, the first corridor in which power circulates. The sovereign's true jurisdiction is measured not by consensus or map, but by the ratio of constricted throats to liberated lungs. If you're watching this right now, consider yourself lucky. Best stuff on the internet, best stuff on YouTube. If you have any questions, write them in the comments. I am Abe Zucca. You can check out my art at zuccagallery.com. These are my writings. This is the Pneuma of Charlie Kirk. A continued sermon in the Temple of Zucca. What am I reading? You see right here on the cover. Just read it. When people's breath is rerouted, the state acquires a second skin. It governs the sleepers who choke in their beds, the workers whose anaerobic thresholds arrive too soon, the children whose narrow faces bend under the invisible pressure of social structures encoded directly into the jaw. There are two architectures of rule, one that commands armies and one that commands airways. The former can be resisted by revolution, the later only by unlearning the constriction that living under a modern state has normalized as breathing. Every hypersensitive pulse, every nocturnal snore, every collapsing airway is an index of political anthropotechnology, proof that governance has learned to work at the level of Foucault hinted at, but never anatomized. The microphysics of airflow, humidity, posture, and the nocturnal fall of the tongue. A society that mouth breathes is a society already disciplined. It has accepted shallow inhalation as the price of productivity, and has surrendered the metabolic sovereignty that once belonged to the ancient human skull, broad, oxygenated, open to the cosmos. Inner alchemy and nasal civilization, Taoist, somatic, energetic. Nasal breathing is the first initiatory gate of Taoist alchemy, the subtle furnace at the base of the inner cultivation, where qi begins not as metaphysical abstraction, but as the disciplined refusal to take the shortcut through the mouth. Thank you, I wrote it. Thanks for saying you like the book. I love Charlie. Well, this is Transcendental Charlie Kirk. You ain't gonna hear any of this stuff. Charlie Kirk was into the hyperbaric chambers. You could Google it if you want. It's interesting that it was the throat that was the stigmata. To breathe nasally is to re-enter the cosmology where interior and exterior worlds interpenetrate. The ni and the we, no longer abstractions but anatomical correspondence, where the widening of the airway is also the widening of the subtle body. Every inhalation through the nose is a micro-gesture of cosmic alignment. Air is pressed against soft tissue, widening the inner corridors, reshaping the skull as the alchemist reshaped essence, slowly, invisibly, and inevitably. The Taoists knew what modern physiology rediscovered in fluorescent gems, that the quality of breath determines the quality of perception, that obstructed air produces disturbed minds, and that the brain falters when qi is routed through the wrong aperture. Aerobic respiration, 6 times more efficient than anaerobic, is the metabolic analog of spiritual cultivation, a shift from emergency living to expanded being, from survival to spaciousness, from frantic panting to the long horizon of deep interior power. Memory and the reversible deformity. Anthropology, skulls, plasticity. The face is not fixed, it is political biography written in bone. Harvold's monkeys, Gigi's crooked dental arches, the adult snorer's weary jaw, all are chapters in the same story, the collapse of ancestral form under the weight of modern life. 90% of children now bear the marks of respiratory civilizational collapse. Narrow palates, small mouths, crowded teeth, recessed chins, silent monuments to a species that dethroned its own airway in exchange for ease, softness, and processed diets. The ancient skull laughs not because it mocks us, but because it remembers us. It carries a template of human breath that we abandoned in the late Anthropocene, a blueprint for broad faces, round jaws, enormous airways, and effortless nasal respiration. But deformity is reversible. Bone is not density. Remove the obstruction, retrain the breath, and the face begins to remodel. Forward, outward, widening, brightening. Proof that evolution is not only past tense, but potential, stored in tissues awaiting the correct airflow. But deformity is reversible. Bone is not density. Remove the obstruction, retrain the breath, and the face begins to remodel. Forward, outward, widening, brightening. Proof that evolution is not only past tense, but potential, stored in tissues awaiting the correct airflow. The breath that reshapes the airway also reshapes the psyche. The child who breathes narrowly lives narrowly. The adult who inhales widely perceives widely. Airway width is the forgotten phenomenology of consciousness. The future of anthropology will be the study of breathing as cultural evolution. A new ethnography where jawlines, sinuses, and alveoli are historical documents as legible as pottery shards or ruined temples. The lost art and science, endurance, metabolism, metaphorics of air. Modern fitness begins with the lie that effort precedes breath. Modern fitness begins with the lie that effort precedes breath. Ancient systems knew the opposite, that breath precedes effort, and that exertion without nasal discipline is merely anaerobic combustion disguised as progress. The aerobic threshold, 180 minus one's age, is not merely a metabolic formula but a universal law. The line dividing frantic life from sustainable life, overexertion from attunement, noise from rhythm. To breathe through the mouth during exertion is to declare metabolic bankruptcy. The body is forced into a system designed only for emergency, and soon interprets all life as emergency. Nasal breath maintained under strain is the initiation into effortless endurance, the rediscovery of the body's ancestral mode, where oxygen becomes the quiet engine of vast distances, long hunts, dawn to dusk labor, mythic walks across continents. The cyclist panting at 47 breaths per minute is the allegory of the contemporary subject. Overworking, under-oxygenated, stressed, while the same subject breathing naturally at 14 breaths per minute is the allegory of the future human, efficient, composed, metabolically sovereign. The lost art of breathing is the lost art of being. The return to nasal discipline is the return to a world where effort is not frantic but flowing, where sleep is not suffocation but descent, where the human skull regains its forgotten width, and where consciousness itself expands by the simple act of inhaling properly. The cosmic breath, pneuma, conspiration. Against positivism, I would say no, facts are precisely what there are not, only interpretations. Every great work knows more than it says. Breath is a fundamental principle of both individual life and the universe. The primordial breath, pneuma, vital spirits. Before the first metaphor, before the first lyric, before the first theory of mind, there was breath, unhidden, unanalyzable, a tide rising through the animal body, sustaining the earliest consciousness long before language could name it, pneuma. The psyche. Breath is the proto-concept of metaphysics, the hinge between embodiment and world. The Greeks did not invent pneuma, they recognized it. They noticed that the invisible force that animated the lungs also animated storms, trees, fire, prophecy, and the dying soldier's last exhalation. Breath was the original monism, the first intuition that the same substance moves through the cosmos and chest. Hebrew ruach and Greek pneuma converge not by etymology but by ontology. Both designate a principle prior to form, anterior to organization, a wind that creates worlds and a whisper that topples tyrants. In this convergence emerges the first political theory of air. Vital spirits in medieval medicine were not errors, but attempts to map the metaphysical intimacy between breath, emotion, and cognition. A physiology of effect before neuroscience, a recognition that tears, sighs, and swoons are not symptoms but modes of knowing. Breath is the only phenomenon that is simultaneously biological, cosmological, and hermeneutic. It keeps the creature alive, mirrors the atmosphere's moods, and becomes a metaphor through which culture understands inspiration, speech, prophecy, poetry, and death. And we're going to end with this final one. All early theories of the psyche, Homeric thumos, Aristotelian psyche, Stoic pneuma, share a single intuition. Consciousness is airy, mobile, oscillatory, something inhaled as much as produced, something lost in death because its departure is the departure of breath. I'm Abe Zucca. You can check out my art at zuccagallery.com, and you can come into my gallery in downtown Phoenix, 1301 Grand. This is part 4 of 8 of the Pneuma of Charlie Kirk, Miasma, Warfare, and the Sovereignty of Breath. I will see you later.